Now, let's talk about a story that we've been covering, haven't we now? I think we're on day 10. Of course, I'm speaking about that suspected chemical attacker, Abdul Ezedi. The Met Police have issued an update a couple of hours ago now, actually, saying that death, I'm quoting this, death is the most probable outcome for the guy that they have not managed to find. We've seen all the CCTV footage, haven't we? There he is. If you're listening, not watching, I'll describe it. The fella's meandering along like he ain't got a care in the world, making absolutely no attempts whatsoever to hide his damaged face. I've got to remind you all that he did wander along Vauxhall Bridge, and in case you're not familiar with London, Vauxhall Bridge, at the end of it, it has MI6. So, I mean, the guy has sauntered past one of the most high-security buildings in London, and they still can't find him. Anyway, joining me now is former detective Peter Blexley. Now, Peter, some of my viewers, I know them well, they'll be getting in touch now saying, this whole theory about him jumping into the river, this is to cover the backsides of the Met Police because basically they're just not doing their job in finding him. What would you say to that?
Abdul Ezedi, originally from Afghanistan, who smuggled himself into the UK in the back of a lorry, who made multiple applications for asylum, and in between two of those applications was convicted of 2 sex offences, who was, of course, wanted for a vicious, wicked, vindictive attack on a woman and 2 young children, during which a number of police officers and members of the public also got injured, is dead.
How do you know?
End of story.
How do you know?
Because the Metropolitan Police have done exhaustive CCTV trawls. And what viewers and listeners might not appreciate, and that's perfectly understandable, is that a negative CCTV non-sighting is often as important as an actual sighting, because what it allows you to do through a process of elimination is say, well, if somebody is not seen travelling through this particular spot where there is CCTV coverage, then they must have taken a different route. And that's a perfectly reliable theory to work upon. What the Met have done is done exhaustive checks of CCTV systems, authority-owned, privately owned, publicly owned, that comprehensively placed him on Chelsea Bridge. No dispute about that whatsoever. What happens thereafter is that exhaustive CCTV coverage shows that he did not exit that bridge. So whilst the Metropolitan Police will tell you it's a working hypothesis, I'm telling you he went in the Thames, which at this time of the year, in fact most of the year, is largely unsurvivable.
So that bridge, it's got, as you say, it's got CCTV on it, hence we've got those sightings of him on said bridge. It's also quite a fairly busy bridge. It's one of the key crossing points for southwest London. So you'll have lots of cars that are driving by, many of which will have dash cams. You've got apartments overlooking that bridge, many of which will have security cameras, doorbells, whatever it is. So if your theory is absolutely spot on, i.e. he's gone over the bridge or into the Thames, why isn't there footage of that?
Because not everywhere in London and the UK has blanket CCTV coverage. There is legislation around the scale and the view that a CCTV camera can have. If it's local authority, they get a greater amount of permission to cover things like traffic and the such like. If you have CCTV on a private dwelling, then you are not actually permitted to capture the images that go beyond the boundaries of that dwelling. So not everywhere in London and the UK has blanket coverage.
Let's rewind then and go back to the night of the attack. I think it was about 7:30 there or thereabouts, wasn't it? And the police were asking people if you've got dash cam footage or Ring doorbell footage or whatever, can you have a look at it and let us know? There was a lot of criticism though at the time, and I've got to admit from me as well, saying, well, why didn't the police release a descriptive image or a descriptive term or whatever prior to 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon? What are we missing?
Oh, yes, of the following day. And in addition to Ezedi walking very close to the security services building, he actually walked past New Scotland Yard not long after the attack. We're only talking about a matter of 2 or 3 hours after the attack.
Why didn't the Met Police issue a descriptive either image or, just description before 1:30 the next afternoon, by which time this fella's probably long gone.
Yeah, that will be a question for the Metropolitan Police to answer. And I am never a defender of the indefensible. But this investigation...
But is that indefensible? Because a lot of people said to me, "Oh, Michelle, who do you think you are? You think you know better than the Met Police?" There was people have been saying to me and other people that have my view, well, hang on a second, maybe the police didn't want to endanger people, maybe this is just standard policing protocol not to issue those descriptions, is it?
Or maybe in 2024, where we have senior police leadership that are so fluffy, woke and liberal, they're often scared of their own shadows. Did they want to know comprehensively that the images they were going to release were exactly of the person that they wanted? Did they act with caution? Again, we would have to ask them. But this investigation has proceeded in the manner that it has done because, as the Met have admitted, they've had their best detectives, experienced detectives, detectives who are used to conducting fugitive hunts for terrorists and murderers and the like, which is all well and good. But if you live in London and you get burgled, have your car stolen, are a shopkeeper plagued by shoplifting, and, as a report described today, are reporting offences of child sex abuse, then unfortunately you will find that the largest police service in the land often comes up very, very short indeed.
Indeed, and actually everyone will be familiar with the story by now. He got back into his car, didn't he, and tried to escape, but actually he crashed the car. If he'd have managed to get into that car and drive off, lots of streets around those parts are 20-mile-an-hour zones. If he'd have driven faster than 20 miles an hour, I can bet you bottom dollar he'd have been caught there. They don't mess around with those kind of things. Anyway, Madeleine and Paul, what do you make to it all?
Well, I definitely don't want to disagree with Peter. Having seen him in action on the show Hunted, I think I would trust him to know where people are hidden or not. I mean, obviously, it's tempting to take the view that there is a little bit of backside covering, should we say, because it has been one of these cases where it seems to speak to the fears that many people have around the police, that the inaction and the inability to act quickly and efficiently. And of course, the fact that he's on camera walking past MI6 does not help. But yes, I think Peter's probably about right here.
And I as well bow down to Peter's operational experience and completely accept what he says. I think the wider debate for the public, almost certainly, which will continue, is why was this guy in the country? He had his asylum application, as we understand it, rejected twice, converted to Christianity, made an appeal, a tribunal said... Converted
to Christianity. I mean, how you can say that with a straight face and believe that it's true is beyond me. Well, that fella didn't convert to Christianity. Well, actually, he probably did on paper to try and get in, but I mean, come on now.
And that's the debate that we need to have. And of course, there was the not insignificant matter of his conviction for sexual crimes in 2018. Yeah. So those are the big questions, and they're not going to go away.
Well, there you go. You can make your own mind up. But for now, Peter Blexley, thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.